I am Daddy Warpig, and this is the Kick-Ass Geek Cast. I am back. That's right, this is the Kick-Ass Geek Cast for Tuesday, November 4th, 2014. I am your host, broadcasting from a secret bunker deep underneath the House of Geekery. You can read me online on our blog, daddywarpig.com. Once again, daddywarpig.com. Or you can follow me on Twitter at daddy_warpig, at daddy_warpig. Once again, like always, a bunch of happenings today. Today was going to be the day that I took a break. Today was going to be the day where I got to leave the secret bunker and travel low those many miles to go see John Wick in the theater. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. Real life walked up to me, smacked me across the face, threw me down to the ground, and said, "Nope, I think you need to go see the doctor today." So tonight was going to be an all geek cast. Unfortunately, I had to go see the physician. Everything's fine, nothing big. Just prevented me from doing something fun. So tonight we have, as always, breaking, important, dramatic news from the Gamergate front. And I'm not kidding either. That sounds like I'm kidding. That sounds like I'm shilling. That sounds like clickbait, or at least the radio equivalent of clickbait. Like I'm building you up for something grand and glorious, and then I'm going to yank the rug out from your feet. No, it actually is pretty grand and glorious. But first, there has been a lot of talk around Gamergate today. I want to pause for just a second and discuss this. What I think is going to be most awesome when people try to analyze what happens is this. I'm going to say a good 50% of Gamergate occurs on Twitter in the open in tweets that have not been deleted and almost certainly will not be deleted. And so historians, if anybody is so crazy as to try this, who look at Gamergate in the future are going to have a wealth of information from which to analyze what actually went on. And this is nuts, folks. This is history on fast forward, okay? This is 20 years of regular history passing almost every single day because of the rapidity with which messages can be sent and received on Twitter. Ideas can be communicated across an entire group of 15 to 20,000 people in the blink of an eye, and things can change just like that. Add to that ideas coming from the outside from 8chan, Infinite Chan, and you have a situation where people can change their minds and change their tactics and react and respond almost instantly as soon as news comes up. We had a negative article go up 15 minutes later. Tons of people knew about it and were debunking it and were gathering evidence and had posted the evidence inside of an hour. Less than 1 hour to recognize an article, dissect an article, disprove an article, and move on. That has not happened on any large scale that I know of in the history of the human race. This is history on fast forward. I was tweeting with Kathy Young, the columnist, who is surprisingly open to receiving tweets from people who are not celebrities or major political figures. And she had posted something that said, people who are living through historical times don't actually know they're historical. I said, I am living through historical times. I'm right in the middle of it, and frankly, it's bewildering. She replied, well, it isn't necessarily historical, which is true. But my point that I tweeted back was, we have a sense of scale that's different. What is historical on the scale of the world or the United States is different than what is historical on the scale of video games. And I promise you this, all of you brothers and sisters involved in this consumer revolt, video games journalism, and video games history will remember Gamergate for as long as they're writing histories of video games. Forever. This is historical, and we are right in the middle of it. Which, to bring me back, you look at all these tweets, all of them, despite being on the public record, are going to be very, very difficult to amass, because I would say at least 90% of the tweets I see on a daily basis in the open don't occur in the hashtag. Do not occur in the hashtag. And so if you just look at tweets that have hashtag Gamergate attached, you miss all of the rest of the stuff that's going on. And that's not even considering what's going on in direct messaging, what's going on in Skype calls, what's going on other places, on anonymous boards where you can't verify the identity of people. You are not going to be able to tell exactly what happened, and compressing it down into a coherent story is going to be virtually impossible for future historians, despite the wealth of information that they have available. Which, tracking all of this that's going on, brings me back to the big news that was traveling round and round the community of consumers revolting, who are revolting. Yeah, the community of consumers who themselves revolt others is not the pros. Sorry. The community of consumers who are revolting against corrupt media journalism was sharing a list, a link to a list on GitHub that is supposedly, ostensibly a block list for Gamergaters. There were over 15,000 names on the list, and everybody, because the old block list, and I'm not going to go into the history of it. If you don't know what the block list is, tweet somebody in Gamergate. They will be able to tell you, because I don't have the time. Half-hour show, a lot of information. Got to move quickly. These old block lists had people listed in order of how vile and reprehensible the people who made the block list thought they were. Your host, have avoided confronting antis for the vast majority of this time, preferring to stick to discussing things with reasonable and sane people, which means either people not involved in Gamergate or people who are pro. The number of sane antis I have managed to contact and discuss can be counted on the fingers of one hand, minus 2 or 3. So, the old block list had people listed in order of ranking. Number 1, the most vile son of a bitch to ever live in the history of the world. And then it goes down to like 4,000, 5,000 and something. Well, this list, or 3,000 and something, this list of 15,000 individuals, everybody was talking about their ranking on it. Oh my gosh, I'm only this. Oh my gosh, I'm only that. Meanwhile, I'm pounding my head against the desk because people, pros, this is not a ranking of how evil the antis consider you. It is an alphabetical list of all the names they've harvested off of Twitter who are connected to, that is, who followed other people involved in the pro side. So if they found one pro, we'll say internet aristocrat, they got everybody who's following him and added them to the list in alphabetical order. So the only thing your number means is that you had a lower letter in the alphabet. A's got low letters, Z's low numbers, Z's got high numbers. That's how it worked. This is not a ranking. It's not something to brag about. Trust me. Look at the list. It's a line number for an alphabetical sort, okay? So you can stop bragging about how low your number is, because it doesn't mean anything. I have a fairly low number because my name is Daddy Warpig. I begin with a D, lower number. Heck, if you began with a 0, you would have the lowest number of all. And if you stuck in 7 zeros, you could get maybe even lower than that. It's not a ranking of how bad they think you are. It's just a list. And it's not even a block list yet. It is just a list of users they've harvested. Wrongly in some cases, because reportedly some antis have shown up, which is going to be hilarious when this thing goes live. A bunch of antis suddenly can't communicate their hateful, vile, vicious, nasty, slanderous tweets to each other. I suspect a great many of them are going to be sorely triggered by that, being deprived of a connection to the rest of their hug box. I expect them to collapse to the ground in tears. Tears, I tell you. They haven't turned on the functionality to make it an actual block list yet. So it's not blocking anybody. We'll have to see how it goes. It's an interesting point, though. The sane people go out and seek to be interviewed. Antis don't. Pros are willing to discuss their position and evidence with just about anyone who isn't an actual troll. Antis want to create a block list to erase pros from the face of Twitter. Now, which group sounds more like someone who is in possession of all their mental faculties, in possession of the facts, and willing to engage in reality? Those who are willing to go on shows where they'll be harshly questioned, or those who run away? Those who are willing to discuss things rationally with their enemies, or those who seek to erase them from existence? In my not so humble opinion, those who are willing to engage, those who are willing to live outside an echo chamber, outside a hug box, are more likely to be in possession of accuracy, in possession of truth, in possession of facts. Because when you have facts, you don't have to hide from the universe. And when you lack facts, hiding from the universe is the only thing you can do to protect your damaged and deranged state of mind. Shilling for dollars. I want to talk about this. This is our headline. Denton's shilling for dollars. Late last night, almost 17 hours ago, according to Twitter, a Gamergater, King of Paul, was posted something that is supposed to have been derived from the Facebook account of a specific individual involved in this journalistic controversy. An arrogant individual, a condescending individual, a hateful individual who is, at least according to the text written in this document, this screen capture, filled with bile and hatred towards all of Gamergate, all of the pros. Because this has not been 100% perfectly corroborated, will not name a real name for fear that they would sue me to smithereens for defamation. So I cannot talk to you. I cannot tell you. I can't even hint at who this real individual is or could possibly be. I can only use a pseudonym that hides their identity. This is both out of a sense of decency and out of a desire not to be sued to smithereens. Although honestly, if they did try and sue me to smithereens, I could give them all of my worldly possessions in a box. And it wouldn't even necessarily be a very big box, so go ahead, try it. The pseudonym that completely masks the identity of the individual in question that I will use for the duration of this show is Dick Denton. Now, Dick is not a pleasant guy. Dick gave an interview to a nudie mag. We'll call it Penthouse Boy. And in this interview with this nudie mag, he basically spouted off on how much he hated people in the world, and it was long and it was boring, that it showcased his arrogance. It showcased his contempt. It showcased how little connection to human decency he has. And frankly, this doesn't surprise me. Dick Denton is or was originally a British journalist. And as anyone who lives in Britain can tell you, British journalists, by and large, are scum. They are, like Rupert Murdoch, not the loving regard for the rest of the human race, okay? Sharks think that British journalists are a bit cold and ruthless. So the fact that this person, when confronted with questions about the Docker media conglomerate, with questions about their ethics policies, of which they have none, that is, no ethics and no policy about them other than they don't want to get any anytime soon. Dick Denton founded Docker, and when confronted with questions about Docker's lack of ethics and lack of an ethics policy, decided that his best option would be to hunker down. Lie, 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 deny, 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 and according to the Post, which came across my feed last night, secretly, surreptitiously fund a group of trolls to try and wreck Gamergate from the inside. Now, this cunning plan was mentioned in a Facebook post that went live in his private group on Facebook approximately 21 hours ago. At least according to the date that's on the post. Now, I derived that figure. It may be a faulty derivation, but we'll never know. And the reason why we'll never know is because Dick Denton deleted his Facebook account. It's gone. After this, just today, less than 16 hours after this post hit the internet, he deleted his Facebook account. You can confirm this yourself. His account, well, I can't tell you the actual name, but anybody who wants to tweet at me afterwards, I'll give you the actual account name, and you can see for yourself that it is, in point of fact, deleted. It's gone. He's not just blocking people unless he blocked the whole entire planet. Now, once again, we don't have exact confirmation about the truth of this vile plan to destroy Gamergate from the inside. But I myself ran a couple of quick checks on the information presented therein, and those checked out. Based Hot Wheels from Infinite Chan did his own checking about the person who leaked this to King of Paul, and apparently that checked out because he vouched for the veracity of this screenshot. And it basically comes down to whether or not you trust those two. That's up to you. I can't make you believe one way or the other. It's your choice. I choose to believe it because it sounds reasonable. In fact, it sustains, it validates information that we received a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. That Docker Media was hiring people to come and insinuate themselves into Gamergate and begin trying to conduct wrecking operations from the inside to sabotage our group. It's very difficult because, one, as he himself notes in here, as Dick notes, we have proven surprisingly impervious to media abuse and humiliation and shame. Vitriol and defamation that would drive almost anyone away has proven to be absolutely ineffective against the vast majority of pros. So after weeks and weeks and months of a nonstop media blitz, they have singularly failed to blunt our progress, singularly failed to split us apart, singularly failed to make us ashamed of who we are or ashamed of what we're doing. So he launched a different plan, a brilliant plan, a cunning plan. And the occasion of this post yesterday was supposedly several major members of Gamergate fleeing for the hills. And he began to think, at least one of whom cited the plot in question, or the effects of the plot in question, as being the cause. So he wanted to get a little cheeky, a little celebration-y in his private Facebook group. And it turns out that he spoke too soon. The three individuals in question who were supposedly running for the hills were, first, King of Paul, over some unfortunate reaction to an unfortunate event that happened on his stream. King of Paul is back and broadcasting today. Supposedly, the departure of Rogue Star, aka Slade Valena, who is back and posting today, launching the Blame Rogue Star hashtag. Whenever anything goes wrong in Gamergate, all you have to do is use the hashtag Blame Rogue Star, and all of a sudden, it's his fault. He's back, did not run for the hills, and Internet Aristocrat, who, while not posting much in the hashtag, that not being unusual, is still working on his next video. So this plot, this diabolical plot, which I promise, reveal to you in just a moment, failed. It failed to take out three prominent Gamergaters, and their supposed disappearance yesterday was the occasion of him gloating. Too early, it seems. So, you say to me, Daddy Warpig, you've been teasing us for minutes about this cunning plan. I can't take it anymore. What is the cunning plan? What was it he was trying to do? Infiltrate the group and kill them from the inside. I'm quoting from this post. And again, I happen to believe that this post is genuine. The evidence I collected, the evidence other people looked at, made them believe it was genuine, made me believe it was genuine. The fact that he deleted his Facebook account makes me believe it's genuine, because why would you panic and delete it if it wasn't genuine? And here's the thing, you can say, well, maybe he's secretly setting up a reaction so you'll believe it, and then that will hurt Gamergate somehow. No, because if we believe what goes on in this and act accordingly, it's not going to hurt Gamergate. There is no situation in which the revelation of this document hurts us. Even if it's false, what we would do in reaction would help us. In every possible way that you could measure, this is only a good thing. I happen to believe it's true, but even if it's false, it doesn't matter. It's still good for us. So, those that I had someone send out feelers looking for people to work on a special project for me, Dick Denton, quoting from the screen cap now. Those that made it through screening have been taking part in an effort to police Gamergate from the inside, the pros from the inside, causing a wedge to be driven amongst them. Today serves as evidence of money well spent. They have begun to crack, and their influential people are beginning to part ways with the group. Eventually, there will be such a small minority that it will just blow over, and nobody will care. It feels good, and I am proud of myself. I am slaying a giant, and there is nothing they can do about it. How does one separate themselves from people claiming to be doing what is right for the group by tone policing? You can't, and it will continue to be the dagger that kills this silly group of entitled brats. Well, how can you? Here's the thing, Dick. Can I call you Dick? Doesn't matter. I'm going to call you a dick anyway. Here's the thing, Dick. Trying to tone police gamers, trying to guilt gamers into being polite or being nice or feeling bad for not being polite or nice is a waste of time. It's like trying to convince fish to towel themselves off. You can throw all the towels you like into the ocean. It isn't going to do a damn bit of good. Fish are wet. They swim in water. Gamers, at least those kinds of hardcore, committed gamers, who are the majority of the pros, are shit-posting, shit-talking, vulgar sons of bitches and daughters of bitches, I guess, or bastards. However you want to spin that so it doesn't trigger your poor little mind, I don't care. All right? They use the F word like it was a period, okay? When they're playing games with people they like, they throw out every single form of derogatory comment you can imagine, and I cannot repeat. They are relentlessly, ruthlessly vulgar to all comers. And they do this for fun. That's what gamers are. Harsh language barely registers to them. And you think your genius cunning plan that will slay the giant is to get gamers to become hypersensitive, fainting at the sight of a gosh or a darn people? Seriously, that's it? That's your brilliant, cannot be failed plan? To buy lots of towels and throw them in the ocean, hoping that'll make the fish go away? I don't think that's going to work. In fact, I will go out on a limb here and say that's quite possibly the stupidest possible plan you could possibly come up with. Now, don't get me wrong. I've seen a lot of tone policing recently. Don't know why. Can't think why. But to a man, every single person replying to it, has said to a more or less degree of politeness, go screw yourself. I'll talk the way I want. You really think a group of obstinate, ornery people who have withstood every kind of insult for 2 months is going to mildly, meekly back down when some low post count scrub comes up to them and says, you're just being mean. You're being so mean. You're being so mean and you need to stop. Isn't going to happen. And it shouldn't happen. Don't get me wrong. There are lines that people can cross. You can be too much of an asshole. I've seen it. But the fact is, given a choice between a censorious group of cum, stocks, and scolds, I will choose to hang out with the assholes every single time, even if some of what they say makes me want to wince. That's better than having to worry about every word I say because some random jackhole might jump out at the internet at me screaming that I've done something wrong. And you know what? I'm pretty sure most of the rest of the pros feel the same way. In fact, I'm really sure. I'm 100% sure that they feel as strong or stronger about not being scolded by meaningless nobodies. So what do we do? Oh my gosh, what do we do? This nefarious plan has been launched. How do we cope beyond just blocking, muting, or ignoring the shilling shitheads, the people who are being paid to shill to tone police? How do we cope with this? Well, one thing to cope is we have hardened the harassment patrol, which had been, in the 2 instances I saw, a source of toxic tone policing. We hardened the harassment patrol so they couldn't be abused in this manner. That news story just went live today. And then for the rest of the time, we just keep in mind, 1, we have the freedom to say whatever we want. 2, that doesn't mean we can deliberately be monstrous assholes just for the fun of it. We can use some judgment. And 3, if you see someone shilling, make a simple statement, then mute, block, or ignore, because they're not worth it. And those steps are good, whether or not, those 3 things are good no matter the situation. Whether or not this post by Dick Denton is accurate, those 3 things will only improve our consumer revolt and will only make us more effective. I am your host, Daddy Warpig. This is the Kick-Ass Geek Cast. If you like it, if you love it, if you want some more, be sure to click the little thumbs up, be sure to subscribe, and be sure to spread the word to friends, family, and neighbors. Don't hog all the joy of listening to this awesome show to yourself. Let it go out into the world so millions of people can be enlightened by yours truly. Check me out online on my blog, Daddy Warpig's House of Geekery, daddywarpig.com. Once again, daddywarpig.com. Follow me on Twitter, at daddy_warpig, at daddy_warpig. I am your host, signing off for tonight. And as always, I will be back.